Today is Saturday, April 5th, and this might seem a little premature to be doing an update of our chicken coop move, but Dan is in the backyard tilling the soil with the rototiller, actually on the other side of our new irrigation ditch where we have not grown any crops for approximately 30 years. It's a cool spring day. Meredith will be arriving next Sunday on the 13th, which will be wonderful to see her. We wish Jose were coming also, but we'll be seeing both of them in July. Dan moved the chicken pen actually yesterday, but we have decided that an area of the garden needs to be cut and fertilized, and so we've decided to move it today and get working on that area. At first we were going to pull out the electric lawnmower and let the lawnmower do the work, but the chickens are far more effective at scratching the earth and turning the tough Bermuda grass over. So this area in particular, where we have what we call the new garden for the last 2 years, the grass is rather thick, and last year it was just inundated by the rhubarb, not the rhubarb, rather the amaranth seedlings that just took over in a forest. So we suspect that something similar is going to happen again this spring, that the amaranth that fell in this area will return. So here is Dan. He's already starting to move, kind of with a creaking sound that goes with the PVC when it's in motion. Dan was explaining yesterday how in fact it's very easy to move, and although handles for pulling have been suggested on our YouTube comments, that this actually is not too laborious and gets the job, as it were, done. So this is interesting. We can see what the chickens have done in one day, and what we're noticing on the ground also are a lot of feathers. It is spring, and the chickens are molting, so they're losing a lot of their downy, fluffy feathers, and because no sooner said than it's going to be warming up. Today apparently the high is around 65, which is again very warm. It's still, there's a slight breeze, so it's cool out. The chickens cooperate. They just kind of move where they won't get, as it were, trampled. Since the grass is so thick there, if we were to do this with the lawnmower, it would obviously not be that difficult, but why not let our chickens do the work and the fertilizing? We consistently notice that wherever they've been, the grass is greener. Last Saturday we did have a chance to irrigate for the first time, and this morning Dan went out around 6 a.m. And there was an additional padlock on the irrigation gate, meaning that the ditch rider has locked down the irrigation channel until next week. For what it's worth, in the journal, John Fleck had an article about the abbreviated irrigation season that the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District is predicting because of the lack of snowpack and the fact that it's been so dry and windy at the higher elevations, the snow has either melted or been blown, and so they are not forecasting a very positive irrigation system season. And in fact, that there was something about we might not have water past June. We are looking into the rain barrels. We've called several places. We want to go in and actually take a look at what's available. We're thinking of at least 2, maybe 3 100-gallon rain barrels, but then the concern is, will we have much rain for the barrels? But I think it's prudent at this time to start heading in that direction. Dan, it looks like you're slightly overshooting the ditch. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll adjust.
And so what we're trying to do with the chickens, if you have any gaps under the PVC pipes, they do make the run for it, and it doesn't take them long to figure out how they can make their way out. So as you can see, the chickens are enjoying the thick high grass, which is of course, as I said earlier, the Bermuda, which is so dense. So they really like it for foraging, for insects, and of course for bedding, for laying their eggs. So no gaps, honey? There aren't any gaps?
Not on the bottom, but I need to fix the chicken a little bit.
Okay.
Over there in the corner, you see what's over there?
I was
Not
asking.
expensive, we use cable ties.
I was asking Dan about the roof. He continues to use that timber to elevate it because he's so tall, so he doesn't hit his head, which is understandable. But he said he just needs to tighten the chicken wire with the cable ties that we use all around to the electrician's cable ties. So he's gonna work on that. And then there's that one vertical PVC pipe that is loose, always loose, and he has to adjust it every time. So Dan looks like he went inside to get the cable ties. The chickens, they always enjoy a change in their environment, their little habitat. And so given that this is so thick, this will be nice. Over here, moving along, this is the new patch of garden area Dan's tilling twice over with the rototiller. Right now he's tilled it to a depth of about 6 inches. We're thinking of planting a variety of different corn and amaranth. We're actually not quite sure. I suggested asparagus. Dan thought that might be a little much at this time. We want to use our land as resourcefully as possible, so that's what this area is about. And then this is kind of nice today. I thought we could water, but since it's not available, it's a good day for rototilling. The rototiller we've had for about 14 years, and it continues to work really well. It's still not an easy job. I'm always amazed that Dan does it. And then he's going to be going into the garden area. We do have those 12 by 2 redwood timbers there on top. We're not quite sure what to do with them. We were thinking of either sectioning off a part of the garden or building up our fenced-in area. They were inexpensive pieces that we picked up, and so we thought we would use them somehow in the garden. So again, you can see the yard is slightly greening up with the water, but still rather dry. And then we can go over here and see what Dan's doing with the cable ties. I'm not quite sure. He said something was loose beyond the normal. And there you see our fluffy hens. Okay. We haven't made any moves as far as buying a hatchet dedicated to harvesting chickens, but we have talked about it. Who knows? We might just keep them in their old age. So this is Dan showing how he's repairing a gap in the chicken wire. So these are electrician's cable ties, nylon. We buy them in bulk, or bulk for us, and it's just a matter of strapping.
You put the square side. It fits in on the square side.
Right, and then Dan snips them off just for aesthetics. You don't necessarily have to, although the older they get, the more brittle, and then you can kind of poke yourself with them. How about the roof, honey?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that.
So you don't have to.
Well, I could use baling wire, but that might not look real nice.
Okay, let's not use baling wire. Just use the timber for now,
Yeah.
and then we'll figure it out later. So, so that's what Dan was fixing, just a slight gap. And that just comes from moving, honey, the motion?
Yeah, it just came loose. See, these came loose.
Okay, so we can recycle those. I'll take them.
So that's what happened. I don't know. I guess it was held tight enough here to where it didn't matter here, but I thought it'd be good there. And here I'm going to use a bigger one.
Okay.
Longer one.
The hens, as you can see, are nearby. They're very social. Anytime we come out, they tend to congregate wherever we are. And so Dan is taking...
Sometimes you actually have to put two together to get all the way around.
So is that about an 8-inch, honey? And so you're putting two 8-inches together?
Yeah, I think they're 4-inch.
Okay.
But you can just put them together and then it works out. See how tight that is?
So that's nice and snug there.
Probably put another one like that.
How many eggs did you...
Just two right now.
Okay, so prior to the move, there were 2 eggs. And so is there a lot more that you have to tighten up, honey? And then you're going to hold on the roof.
Yeah.
And this is...
The only thing I can do is I can actually...
Why don't you try that?
I need to put some more together with it.
And it's not the cooleroos that are weighting it down?
No. See, that makes it taut, and then I can go in there and tighten. But I think I'll
Okay,
connect it there and
what-
tighten it first.
What are those bungee cords, honey, there in the center?
I'm going to take all those down.
Why do you have them?
Which ones?
The bungee cords, I can see them in the center. Do you see them?
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Okay.
I'll try to test to do something against it. Yeah, look, I need to put some more here too. So
Okay.
I'll take
So-
them through.
So Dan is just working on getting everything in shape. But it is impressive given that we're moving a fairly large structure by hand, no wheels, and
See, look what happens. These
they dry out.
they dry out and they get brittle and then they break.
Okay.
So
So,
that's just something you have to do in terms of maintenance.
okay.
Oops.
Ooh, they are brittle.
Oh well.
Here, I'll take it.
We might want to come up with something that's better faster than that. But that's after about 2 years.
Yeah. Dan was thinking of loading some earlier pictures of our hens when they were pullets for the channel that might be cute, as it were, to see them when they were, as it were, newborns. We haven't worked on that. We have too much else going on. So that's about it. Anything else, honey, that you wanted to share? Anything else you wanted to share?
Well, let me just do this.
Down shoring up the roof, it's been sagging. In the winter, if we do get some precipitation, which is kind of unusual, the water does pool in the center because of the way we have the cooleroos draped over. So, and then when it freezes. So tell me about that bungee cord. Why is it there, honey?
I had some idea the other didn't work out.
Okay. And as you can see, the chickens are in constant motion and checking things out and in hopes of finding some insects. We have so many worms in the soil, so who knows what they come across. So that's about it again on Saturday, April 5th. As always, take care. Bye-bye.